Hello guys, welcome to Open Techno. Today on the channel we have a projector, but not just any projector. We have the XGIMI HALO, plus a super complete projector that can display images in 1080p up to 700 lumens. It has a battery that lets us take it anywhere for up to 2.5 hours and play our favorite content. And it has really great audio with speakers made by Harman Kardon. In this video, we'll fully review the projector, discuss its features, and show you how it looks, sounds, and the experience the XGIMI HALO Plus provides. Let's start by talking about its design. It has a very compact, very portable design with dimensions of 17 centimeters in height, 14 centimeters in depth, and 11 centimeters in width. It weighs 1.6 kilograms, so just imagine 1.5 kilos of macaroni. Basically, that's how much it weighs. It's quite portable, and we can put it in any backpack for any excursion, camping trip, or journey. It's perfect to bring to a friend's house, like during a soccer final. Even if we want, we don't even need to take the power adapter because it has a battery. It's mostly made of plastic, and the sides and front have some subtle lines engraved into the material. Honestly, this makes it not completely smooth and gives it a slightly more premium look. These slats are designed to allow airflow into the device and out the back, cooling all the components inside. On the back, we find the power connector and the headphone jack. Or for an HDMI sound system, a USB port for a USB drive with movies or whatever we want. The power button is on top, along with volume, pause, and play buttons. On the front, the sensor, which we will talk about now, and then a small, let's say also a sensor that will help us with autofocus and framing. Always completely rectangular, not trapezoidal. At the base, we will find a rubber gasket that will help prevent the device from moving and from transmitting vibrations to a table or shelf where we place it. Then we have a small riser in case we want to give the device more angle, and a typical tripod screw so you can place it anywhere. Let's discuss image quality using this tripod. The full high definition sensor at 1920 x 1080 pixels provides excellent resolution. Nowadays, many of you might think that we need 4K, but in the end, a lot of things, like projectors for example, aren't pixels that we actually see as such. In the end, we're just going to see a projected image. What kind of feeling does it give us? Unlike a monitor, where we can see the pixels and easily notice higher resolution, this isn't as apparent. Here, 1080p or full high definition isn't as noticeable. It looks amazing for its size and projects at 700 lumens of brightness. They only had 300? This projector will allow us, for example, to watch content even if we have the blinds slightly open in our room or if there's some light pollution. Of course, it's still not from a top-tier professional projector, so that even with the window open during daylight, we can still watch content properly. No, but it's true, we'll have plenty of brightness here. I've actually used it at 50%, which is more than enough. It also features DLPS technology. I've done some research. What happens is that we project the image through several reflections that are made on mirrors inside the projector. What does this technology offer us? Well, above all, sharpness and contrast, which in the end gives us an overall feeling of higher quality. We have high dynamic range 10, which means we're going to get more contrast between shadows and highlights, and we also have the hybrid log gamma standard for the same high dynamic range feature. Projection size, this is important. We'll be able to project content between 40 and 200 inches. How are we going to achieve this? By moving the device closer to or farther from the wall or the screen where we want to project. Now what the brand tells us is that they recommend projecting between 60 and 120 inches. Why? Well, because the quality will be optimal, the colors will be the best, and in the end, the sense of quality will be much better. However, this doesn't mean we can't use it in other ranges. From 40, 60, and 120, 200 inches, but for top quality, stay between 60 and 120 inches. Honestly, I was surprised by the colors. The image looks great. I can't find any faults with it for the price, and I think this sensor is really well made and definitely worth it. As for the sound, we have two Harman Kardon speakers, a brand especially well known in the audio world that give us 5 watts of power each. We have a really good sound, we don't need to configure anything, and I was surprised by how powerful it is, even though it's a small device.
Honestly, from the outside, it looks like a city hall, not a house. If you've known me for years, you know I've always been interested in verse content.
Houses. We can use it to watch content, have Dolby audio sound, and we can also use it as an external speaker for our house. However, I think what makes the most sense is, for example, if we have a professional soundbar that gives us very powerful bass, you should know that we can connect it via Bluetooth. Now, smart features. Well, here we have several. First of all, the autofocus is very good. You can count on the fact that if you move, the device will instantly focus the image for you in a super precise way. Then we have keystone correction, which basically means this. Hey, if we tilt the projector a lot, then the image would end up distorted like this, right? Well, it makes sure that in the projection it manages to do. The image stays completely rectangular. In short, it adapts to any angle we set it on the wall and it auto-focuses perfectly. Regarding this, it's also able to detect obstacles. For example, if we're in a living room and there's a vase near the wall, it will make the image a little smaller. This way, it avoids that obstacle and doesn't project the image onto it. I've noticed this feature is off by default. I left it off since my wall has no obstacles, but you can turn on obstacle detection. And is it able to detect them? Now, this is a big plus because, as I mentioned before, it's a device that has HDMI and USB, so you can view different multimedia files. For me, the key feature in a device like this is that it runs Android television. What does that mean? Well, it means we'll have access to the Play Store, to all the apps, just like we have them on our iPad, our computer, or our phone. This lets us install apps like YouTube, Netflix, Amazon Prime Video, and Home Box Office. Or apps like, for example, here in Spain, television apps such as the Mediaset app, the A3 Player app, or the Radio Television Española app. It has connectivity via Wi-Fi as well as Bluetooth, so you can play all this content. And now, one of the most unique features of this projector is that it comes with a built-in battery. What this ultimately allows us to do is, for example, if we go out with a camper and want to project a movie on the wall or on the side of the camper at night on a nice summer night, we can set up some chairs and use the projector without any kind of electrical connection. How does this battery work? Well, we have a capacity of 59 watt hours, which gives us around 2 to 2.5 hours of content playback. What does this depend on? Mainly on the image brightness we set. It's very sensitive. And in fact, when the battery level goes down, it also lowers or dims the brightness with which it displays the image to save battery. Now, one important thing is that I think Android television is not prepared for this and can't show what percentage of battery our device has. It's something I've searched for in a lot of ways and I haven't been able to find it. So, well, you'll have to charge the device pretty much all the way and count on having about 2 hours. Maximum of 2.5 hours of content playback. But of course, if you want to use it without limits, you can connect it using the charger it comes with. Let's talk a little about noise, about sound. Well, the projector performs quite well in this aspect. It has less than 30 decibels of noise and is able to adjust the speed of the internal fan. Depending on what we're doing, if we're pushing it hard with a complicated image, it also has to do some processing. You can hear the fan speeding up. But if we're just using a screensaver or just an image, maybe projecting from the computer and so on, which requires much less, then you notice that sometimes the fan speed drops a little bit. Anyway, it's not noisy, but it's a projector. After all, it makes noise no matter what. Another strong point that I haven't talked about is the remote it comes with. The truth is, it's a really cool remote with a very modern design and it has everything you need. Basically, it has controls to navigate through the menu, home, or main page buttons, volume, and then it has a button to auto adjust the focus whenever we want. On the other hand, it has shortcuts to YouTube, Netflix, and Prime Video, my main platforms. And then we have a shortcut that can be customized to our liking. Do you see that there's also a little person? That's because this projector has the option to set up multiple profiles for different people who want to use it. Lastly, we have a button with the Google Assistant, which allows us to, well, play a song on Spotify or start a television show. Let's review the strengths and weaknesses, beginning with the strengths. Lastly, I also think it's worth highlighting the good brightness, those 700 lumens that allow us to view content in environments that aren't completely dark. However, I only found one weak point, and that's because it's designed to place the projector at hip height on a table, a dining table, or something like that. Why do I say this? Because I usually keep it on a high shelf, and what I expect is for it to project the image completely horizontally. However, it displays or projects it at a certain angle, meaning it projects it upward. And this, in my case, has bothered me a bit because, hey, if I want to, I can give the projector an angle myself, but I like it when it comes projecting completely horizontally by default. Last point, price, which I've already been mentioning to you throughout the whole video. Its price is around 680 euros approximately. That's what it currently costs on Amazon. However, if we find a cheaper link, we'll leave it for you below in the description. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please like it, have questions, leave them in the comments, and we'll answer as soon as possible. And with that said, we'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.